evening. This is Melinda with Sports Network. We are live on Twist Talk Network tonight. Excited to have our guest on with us. We'll get started with her. Women in Motorsports is brought to you by the International Women's Motorsports Association. We were founded last November, and our goal is world that are involved in motorsports of any kind. So we're excited to have a young lady that I feel like I've known for a long time. We tried to meet up at the PRI show, and that didn't work very well. We were both going different directions. But we met, I guess you could say, quite a few years ago. McKenna Haase is a sprint driver. I'll let her tell you when, a few years ago, she had been in a race and she had gotten hurt. So I sent her a card and just developed some things back and forth. And so we're going to be able to have her on tonight. Maggie, okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's awesome. So, McKenna, why don't you, I'm going to let you do most of the talk. Did something the other night just really impacted me, and I know it did a lot of other people too. What McKenna probably won't tell you is all of the things that she does outside that other people's lives. She's a busy gal, but I'm going to let you where you live, how you got started in racing, just kind of your story.
So I'm McKenna Haase. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm 21 years old, and I started racing when I was 13. I originally met a NASCAR driver in a shopping mall, and that's how I got started following racing. And then I also had a cousin that raced micro sprints too, so that's how I found dirt track racing. And just through a series of events, I started my own team when I was 12 and have been running my own team ever since. And now I race 360 sprint cars at Knoxville Raceway primarily.
12 years old, you started your own team. Maybe you should expand on that a little bit, because that's pretty adventurous and like a big undertaking for. What do you mean by you started your own team?
Well, I had already designed kind of basically what I would want my team to look like if I ever could have my own race team, because my parents would not let me race for ever since I got started being a fan in racing, basically. And so it took like 4 years to talk them into it. So at that point, I'd already had a pretty good plan laid out, and I saved my own money. So I started with $800 of my own money, and my parents helped out too. And then I went out and got a few thousand in sponsorship that year. And then now I run my team solely based on like sponsorship and merchandise sales, that I go out and get every off season and work on throughout the year.
Okay, this one's good. Is that better? We'll see if the tech guy tells us that's better. Phone's in. So, tell me a little bit about the other night about that post. Hello?
Oh, you kind of cut out a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about your had on Facebook the other night? And
well, I founded my own driver development program in 2015 called Compass Racing Development, and it originally started as an opportunity to give a kid the chance to race that wouldn't receive one otherwise. And so now we've been doing that program for 3 years, and it's had a lot of success. We've had about roughly seven kids come through the program now. And Sunday was just a really cool day for us. And so instead of writing just like the regular race results that people normally post, I just decided to make it more meaningful. And so I shared the story of how Compass originally got started, and um and then I just talked about how there was a new kid in the seat this past Sunday, Garrett Tatnell, who's the son of professional sprint car driver Brooke Tatnell, and he asked me um, if there was any opportunities for his son to race, and the kid that was originally in the cart who had some family issues the past few years that prevented him from being able to race. His family was able to come up with the resources for him to be able to race this year, so he was in his own car, and there was little Garrett Tatnell was in my 55 car, and so it was just really cool to see the way like the program impacted Gage, my original driver's family, and then Garrett this past weekend. It was just, yeah, it was just, I don't know, really cool just to see like so many things come full circle. And we had like some of our other families there too. Another dad was there who his daughters raced for me, and and then like my dad was there too, and it was at the same racetrack that I used to race go-karts at when I was a kid. And so um yeah, I don't know. I guess that's mostly what Compass is. Um I think we're having technical difficulties. Okay, so the question is, um, like my current 2018 plans and my last year season. So basically, outside of the driver development team, I still run my own sprint car team. So I race 360s at Knoxville on a weekly basis, and then we also travel as much as we can. Last year was my first year in the 360. I ran 305s for 3 years before that. And yeah, so this is my second year in 360. And so basically, our goals this year are to improve on last year, and hopefully finish consistent top 10s, top 5s. My overall goal is to win in the 360 class at Knoxville, since I won in the 305 class. I think it would be cool to win in all three classes someday, and so we're working on that. We're currently sitting 8th in points, so we're off to a good start. We've been qualifying really good, but we just need to improve, mostly in our heats and then somewhat in the features also. We've traveled once this year, but our second, the second place we'll race outside of Knoxville is Donaldson in late May, and then Burlington also, I think, sometime later this month, I mean. And then we'll be at Knoxville in between.
Okay, McKenna, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, I can see you. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. I was having some technical issues. I live in the country, and I don't know if there was something going on, but anyway, so McKenna, I missed some of what you said, but I know you told about your story about why you posted that the other night. It's amazing to me all the things that you do outside of racing. And if you've already said that, I apologize because I missed some of what you said. But if you haven't, why don't you tell us what else you do besides being so involved in the racing community?
Yeah, we just talked about my sprint car season, so I haven't talked about that yet. But
right.
Basically, I'm also a college student, so I go to Drake University, and I'm a business studies major. And I'm president of the Drake Investment Club, and I'm in the American Marketing Association. I'm in a couple Christian ministries on campus, and I'm also on the College of Business Leadership Council at Drake. So those are just some of the things I'm involved in, and then I do a lot of physical training outside of racing. So like tonight I have gymnastics, and then I also do Ninja Warrior training and running and lifting.
Okay, so do you ever have time to just sit down and do nothing?
No, not really.
No, not really. You're a pretty busy gal. So, who got you started with your racing career?
Well, other than meeting Casey Kane in the mall, not really. I mean, it wasn't really a family thing or anything like that, other than my cousin that raced. But they live like in Arkansas and stuff, and so it was mostly just me following NASCAR, I guess.
Okay. And so once you saved the money up and started your team, then were your parents pretty much on board after that?
No.
No. What was it? Was it because you were a girl? Was it because the expense? Do you know what was the reason for that?
No, it was a lot of reasons, I think. I think at the time when I wanted to get started in racing, it probably wasn't the best time. With like everything that my family had going on in our lives and stuff, and then they just thought it was dangerous. They didn't understand it. They thought it was expensive. Yeah, they just didn't know anything about it. And even like throughout my career, it's been a struggle up until this day, basically, sometimes, because just moving up the different levels, and the more dangerous it got, the more expensive it got, they were still against, or it's not that they never supported me, because they've always supported me. It was just, I think a lot of it just scared them, basically. So.
Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about girls in racing. The more I get involved, the more girls I meet. It's just crazy how it just, I was flicking channels the other night, and I found some junior dragster girls, and they just seem to be popping up in front of me. So that's kind of how we met, Facebook. I saw the story about you. So how have you been treated as a girl in racing?
I would say I've had it both ways. I would say that you really don't notice it that much until you get into like the higher levels, because when you're a kid, like there's not that much difference. For the most part, I mean, you'll still get, but when you're kids, it's just a lot different. But I would say, at the higher levels, I've had, I don't know, I've had kind of everything a little bit. I would say for the most part, like for instance, last week I made a tweet about it, because last week was just a really good example of how a lot of the male drivers have been like really helpful for me and really respectful, and just been a big part of my career. But there's also been times that they've been they've kind of crossed the line, basically, and just been a little too hard on me and whatnot. But I think it's been cool to see like how much I feel like I've gained their respect. I guess it's not something that's just given out. It's something that's earned. And I feel like on the track, I've earned a lot of their respect. And I feel like when they're hard on me, it's for a good reason. And I think it's really cool that they go out of their way to help me. But like I mentioned, I've had it both ways. Like it's been a drawback too. I feel like I've experienced almost every type of negative probably that could come along with it.
Okay. Yeah, I hear that the younger girls don't seem to have as much problem as the older girls do, or the women. So tell me, you met Casey Kane and you said, I want to be a race car driver. What is it about racing that you enjoy so much? Why, with all the things you're doing, why is that seem to be really one of the most important things to you?
Oh, it is the most important thing to me by far, because like really everything else I do is for racing. Like all that other stuff I'm involved in is for racing, and I just feel like racing was my purpose in life and what I was called to do. And I think my biggest goal in racing is like I love racing on the track and I love driving race cars, but I also love trying to have a positive impact on people and make a positive difference in the world. And I think the higher I can move up in racing and the higher levels that I can get, the more people that I can impact. And so that's kind of what I love the most about it, and just being a part of people's lives and stuff like that. That's really what I want to do.
Okay. So I got to look over here, see what are, look at my questions. So what are some of the goals that you have for your racing career, both this year and then long term?
This year I basically just want to have like consistent finishes and improve every week. I'd like to get a win at Knoxville in the 360. Um, yeah, and overall, I mean, I'd like to race NASCAR. I've had some opportunities to do some testing and some racing on asphalt, and I really enjoy it. And so I would like to do that professionally. But if not, then I would like to just keep racing dirt professionally.
Okay. Um, so are there a lot of other girls or women that race with you at your track in Knoxville?
No, I'm the only one on a weekly basis. And we have about like 80 men, I think.
Okay. And then what about other classes that race there? Are there women in those classes?
No.
No. That's unusual that you're the only one. Usually there's at least a couple. So you are in the minority, aren't you?
Yeah, but I don't mind it.
You don't mind it.
No.
So if a little girl came up to you and said, I want to race, what would you tell her? Would you encourage her? What would you say to her?
Yeah, I'd encourage her. I mean, what I say to everybody is basically if it's your purpose in life, then you should go do it. You shouldn't do something or not do something for any other reason, basically, like whether it's your gender or because someone told you to. And so I think if a girl wants to race, nothing should stop her. I think if she wants to be in a different career path that may be related to racing, I would encourage that. I think a lot of times people forget about that in our sport. They focus too much on the drivers, and right. I think they should focus more on just careers in the sport too that aren't drivers, and like whatever their interest may be, then they can do that in racing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because as I've met more and more people in racing, I just met a lady that flags for ARCA, and I met a lady that's on the pit crew for Chris Buescher. And I met a lady that's a reporter. And then there's a lady that runs the office at Phoenix International, whatever it's called now. So there's a lot of opportunities really in racing for women besides the driver, and even besides the pit crew, that women could have an impact on the sport. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good point. So can you tell me what's been your proudest moment in your racing career?
I would say, well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I should say like winning at Knoxville, but I would say like Compass is actually probably one of the things that I'm most proud of, just because it's not about me, it's about other people. And I think that's really, or should be like the ultimate goal in anybody's life. Because people don't really remember your racing accomplishments as much as they do, like the impact that they had on you. So I think Compass is really important to me.
That's another good point. A lot of people aren't going to remember next week who won last week. You know, people in the stands, they might a few times, but not all that often. Whereas, like you say, if you have an impact or you make a big contribution to the track and the people, that's important. So, so who helps you with your car? Does your dad help you, or do you have a crew chief? How's that work?
I have I hired a crew for the first time last year. And so I have like a full-time crew chief, and then my dad also helps out.
Okay. All right. And do you have any marketing partners?
Yes, I have a little over 30 this year.
Okay. Are there any of them that you want to mention, or is that too many, or you don't want to?
I mean, Wyckoff Heating and Cooling is my primary this year, and this is their, I think, third year with our team, and so I'm super grateful for their continued support, because we definitely wouldn't have been able to do this without them. And Tier Endurance Sport and Essential Water and Bubbler Water are all great product drink sponsors of mine that I love, and products that I love. And Iowa Select Farms and Casey's General Stores have also been on board with us for a while, and so we're excited to have them back this year. And yeah, we hope to be welcoming some new ones here this summer.
Good. That's good. Every little town in Illinois and Iowa has a Casey's, don't they?
Yes.
People in Michigan probably don't really know what that is. And I don't know about other states, but I grew up in West Central Illinois, and pretty much every little town has a Casey's. That's their go-to place, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they're in about 14 states.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
So if you do you have a race that is particularly special to you, or on the other side of that, maybe is there a race